The Xbox Drive is powered by patrons at patreon.com/YumiCapri. And I want to say thank you to all of our patrons over there, especially our Diamond executive producers, Jonathan Brown and Slimer Snarf, our Platinum producer, Dallas Ford, and our Gold members, Argo, Ashley Nicholson, James Johnson, Gene K, Marcus O'Neill, Skinny Matt, Trucker Sloth, and Xavier Reyes. Thank you, everybody, for all of your support. Hey everyone, it's me, Sean Capri. I'm in my car and you're listening to the most horsepowerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford. He's the man on the moose, and on our journey today, Fall Guys is coming to Game Pass. Just kidding. No, it's not, but we got a bunch of other games coming to Game Pass, so jump on into the Xbox Drive. Hyperspeed.
Greater than X.
Hello, Sean Capri.
Hello, Ryan Turford. I am unstoppable today. I am back truly in the vehicle of my choice today. I'm driving. We are going to see a McDonald's stop today, and I'm excited to talk to you, man. It's been a week, man. How are you?
I am doing well. And yeah, you aren't kidding. It's been a week. It's been a fun week, but an interesting week. But a week it has certainly been. Of course, we're going to segue with this right to cleaning the garage. And I'm going to actually, before I go to our usual YouTube point, we're going to talk real quick about Gaming for Guru, because that was this weekend, Sean. It was a huge success. I mean, obviously, Gaming for Guru is still going. We're still helping raise money for Bobby the Nintendo Guru, but we have raised over $20,000
oh my God.
for Bobby. Can you believe it, Sean?
Dude, I am floored. I don't know how to properly express what has happened here. We all wanted to just show Bobby the Nintendo Guru that when he needed us most, that we were there for him, man. And I have had an emotional roller coaster with this. I did a 24-hour stream on Saturday. Our good friend, Mr. Badbit from the Trophy Room, he's doing his stream as we speak, and a slew of other amazing content creators committed themselves to spreading the word and asking their communities to participate in this and to donate and to share and do a tremendous amount for our good friend Bobby, who's still in the ICU with COVID-19. And I'm at that, I'm gone through the stages. I think that the emotional stages of going through something this intense, because it was intense. And when we hit $15,000, we hit $16,000. Every milestone we hit, I thought we were done. I thought that was it. We've hit every last person up for a donation. Everybody's donated more than, a lot of people have donated more than once. And I thought we were done, and it just has kept going. And finally, and then we hit 20,000, and it's just there's a lot of happy tears, a lot of proud feelings and emotions that this video game community can do great things when we rally together. And I'm so proud of everybody who's done what they've done and committed what they've committed. And yeah, man, it was a weekend. It was very heavy, but I can't wait for Bobby to learn about this. He still doesn't even know that this has happened. So at one point he's going to have this discovery that thousands of people from around the internet have rallied around him, and we're surrounding him with our love and support, and it's just awesome to see, dude.
Yeah, for sure. And it just goes to show you too just how many lives Bobby touched, really.
Big time.
Over the years, and how many people he got involved. Again, I know you've talked about it before, where he was kind of the reason why you got into podcasts. I mean, I know this show wouldn't exist without Bobby. So obviously this was us kind of giving back to Bobby finally, and kind of tried to do something nice for him as well, as he goes through this terrible time. So honestly, I'm probably just as excited as you to see kind of the day where Bobby finally realizes that this is a thing, and that we were totally behind him and all the way here during his troubled time. But
it's huge. It's huge, man. Yeah, and people can still donate at bit.ly/gamingforguru. There's merch links in the show notes and everything. Still encourage people to participate in that, and I just can't wait for him to come back, man.
Yeah, same here. And again, just because the weekend's over doesn't mean we're not still raising money, of course. I believe on the GoFundMe that the goal has been updated to $30,000, so that's kind of what we're aiming for next. So,
let's go.
Obviously, again, if you are interested in donating, all the links for that are going to be in the show notes as well. Also, our normal usual plug at the beginning of the show, we are on our way to 500 YouTube subscribers. So if you're watching us on YouTube, or if you're listening to us on podcast services, and if you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/the Xbox Drive, we encourage you to do so. If you subscribe there, once we hit 500 subscribers, we'll be giving away 1 year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to one lucky subscriber. And all you have to do to enter is just subscribe to the channel. It's that easy. It's probably the best. There, man. It's one of the best ways to support the channel for free. You don't even have. We're not even asking for money.
That's right.
You don't have to be a patron or anything like that. You can do this just to show your support for the Xbox Drive. Or again, just rate us on your podcast service of choice. I think that also goes a long way to helping the show. But enough about all that gobbledygook, Sean. Let's grab our 8 tracks, pop them in. It's time for the playlist. And Sean, you played a very interesting game over the last couple of weeks. This was actually fan voted as to what game you would play next. It was part of the hashtag it could be anything bracket of games that I mean, that's what I dubbed it anyways, by the way.
It should have been called that. That's amazing. Yeah. Hashtag it could be anything. The What Will Sean Play Next presented by twitch.tv/Sean Capri tournament of games. We, what was it? 64 games that started and only one remained down by, I guess, a listener or viewer or whatever by the vote. And the game that landed in the end was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Ryan Turford. I don't know if you know off the top of your head what year this came out. It must have been like 2003 or something. Oh, almost. I was pretty close.
That was actually the year I bought my Xbox because I bought it because of KOTOR.
Oh, snap. Really?
Yeah. That was the first game I got with my original Xbox was KOTOR.
I got Project Gotham Racing was the first game I played on my Xbox, and then quickly went over to Dead to Rights, I think. That was the one with the dog, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. The police officer and his dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great game. Anyway, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, dude. You've seen me play this a couple of times. I'm playing it on Twitch, and I'm still early on. There's still a lot left to discover and to see. And this is an old BioWare game, Star Wars game with heavy RPG and even D&D mechanics, I think, with all of the various like roles and the chance rolls that are happening. Very interesting, man. I think I'm getting to the point in this where the story is starting to become interesting enough to overcome what has been like an aging game. The graphics are little sus. You got like repeating character models. They basically have like 4 male models and like female character models, and they just kind of like repeat. They have different voices and character names, but they all look alike. So there's a lot of shortcomings to this game that I'm like really trying to overcome. But like, especially when you're on Twitch and sharing the experience with friends and people who are watching, it's like a lot of people are seeing it for the first time along with me and going like, what even is this game? It's like, this game is 16, 17 years old. So it's definitely showing its age, but I am committed, man. I want to stick with it because I know that this game is well revered and a lot of people hold this as like one of the best games ever made. I'm not quite there just yet, but like I said, I think the story is unraveling itself, and I'm curious to see where it takes me. But I have to avoid all these other games that I could be playing because this is what has been chosen by the people, my friend.
Well, at least there isn't too many new games out right now. I mean, Hitman's out this week. By the time you're listening to this, Hitman 3 is out, but other than that, we don't really have many new games at least to contend with, at least until next week with Cyber
I still
Shadow
got Assassin's Creed. I still got Watch Dogs. Like I still got 2020
you're
to
not
go
going to finish
through.
those games anyways, though, Sean.
I know.
At least with KOTOR,
trust
I
me,
told you
know.
this before you started playing it, that KOTOR, I think it's a realistic Sean Capri game that Sean could actually finish. Because honestly, it's probably going to take you like 20 hours to finish that game for your first playthrough. It's like the
Mass Effect games. I think Mass Effect 2 was like 20, 25 hours or something. You could really get through it and have a pretty decent ending on that. So I've always appreciated that about BioWare, is even though their worlds and their fiction and everything is so whole and comprehensive, you can still have a pretty concise type of experience with it. So I don't know, like this will be a bit of a journey, I think, over the next couple of weeks. I want to try and dump some serious time into it over the next week. I was sort of busy on Saturday doing 24 hours of the stream for Bobby, and I didn't want to do that game, you know, for the stream. I wanted to play multiplayer games. So when we talk about like, what have I played lately? It's like, well, I spent 24 hours playing, you know, Splatoon and Mario Kart and everything I never get a chance to really play. Of course, we played Halo on our Saturday nights as well. But yeah, I want to get through this actually and be able to kind of talk to you in more of a spoiler type fashion as well.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for this too because for folks that don't know, Sean's playing this game for the very first time, which we don't actually get to hear very often about this game. There aren't too many people playing Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic for the very first time in 2021. So I'm actually super excited to hear what you think about the story, because the story in Knights of the Old Republic, the overarching story, is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, BioWare story. So I'm really interested to kind of hear what you have to say about
like
the
that
story.
is such a high, dude. That's such a high bar. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sitting here going like, I don't know about this game, and you're like, it's the best story of all the BioWare games. It's like I hold Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2 so highly that I just, or even Dragon Age Origins and all the Dragon Age, dude. Like the stories from BioWare games are so strong. That's so, yeah, man, you're pitching a high tent.
Well, I'm not trying to hype it up. It's more just I'm actually a really big Star Wars fan as well. So I think just that got added to the enjoyment of the story more. But even if you're not a Star Wars fan, I still think you'll actually really
see, and
like the
that's
story. If
that's
you like
the thing that
other
I'm
BioWare
wondering.
games.
I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like, am I a big Star Wars fan? I don't know that I am. Like, it's not that I'm not a Star Wars fan. I love all the movies and all, like, you know, all that sort of thing. But it reminds me of when I first came across Star Wars Trivial Pursuit, and I realized like how little I knew about the Star Wars lore. And there are certain people who kind of like take that fandom to the next level. I don't think I'm that person. So we'll see. We'll see how I enjoy this. But I always appreciate like how BioWare has like a bit of a mystery. I love the way they do villains, and I love the way they do characters. So we will see, man. We will see. How about you? What have you been playing?
So I kind of pulled a out of left field game to play this week. I'm playing Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, but not.
Are you really
just playing Bloodstained Ritual of the Night? They introduced a new mode this week called Classic Mode to the game. It was actually part of the Kickstarter backing all the way back in 2013 when this game got kickstarted.
Oh, wow. And they just launched it?
They just launched it. And Classic Mode basically takes the core game and boils it down to a 2D Castlevania game that just feels like playing Castlevania 1, but with all the 3D models from Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. And it's like really weird and goofy, but I'm totally digging it. It's a lot of fun. Again, it feels like Castlevania 1, so it's got the difficulty spikes, and be prepared if you're going to play this to fall into a bunch of pits and then jump over Medusa heads, because they're just as puntable here as they were in the first Castlevania game.
Did you say just as puntable?
No, plentiful. Like
plentiful.
Lots of
I thought I thought you said that like, you could like punt them with your feet.
If only.
Like, that'd be amazing.
If only, because then they wouldn't be so frustrating when you get hit by one, and the knockback is so hard that you like fall backwards into a pit, you know? So, I mean, Classic Mode is pretty fun. I don't know if it's not really a reason to pick up the game if you haven't already, but it is on Game Pass. So anyone who has Game Pass can go play this, and it's just a free update for the game. You don't have to pay for it or anything like that. In fact, after Bloodstained came out in 2018, they've been continually adding to the game, adding a whole bunch of features that, again, were all promised from the Kickstarter, like extra characters that you can play as, to extra bosses, to like crossover events with certain games. And then now Classic Mode. So it's just it kind of, I think this was the last thing that was kind of owed from the Kickstarter at this point. So they can finally kind of start putting their resources towards making a new game at this point. But it's cool to see finally see all the promises from the Kickstarter kind of come to fruition in the form of this Classic Mode, which kind of is just the cherry on top of an already great package in Ritual of the Night. So even if it wasn't on Game Pass, I think the overall package of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, I think is worth a buy right there. I talked about it back in the day, in 2018 when I first kind of joined the show. And I really love this game now. I still think it's fantastic to go back to. So yeah, it was cool to actually revisit a game that I love that I haven't played in a while, and getting to play it in a completely different way, especially because we already have Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, which is already like kind of an offshoot of the series in this style anyways, and kind of seeing the difference between that and like this pseudo 3D style version of the same take of that like gameplay style, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Do you think like can they go back to the Kickstarter well, or do you think like that's like kind of a no-no? Like
I don't
feel
think they're going to need to at this point. I think they only did it because they were such a small team working on it at the time that they just didn't have the money to fund the game at that point, or just it's one of those things where they couldn't find a publisher at the time. Like Igarashi basically just tried to pitch the idea to a bunch of different companies to basically publish the game, and they couldn't find a publisher. So that was the whole reason why they went to Kickstarter. But now since they've been working with 505 Games for a while, and I mean, especially with the success of the Bloodstained series now, I don't anticipate them ever having to go back to Kickstarter at this point. So I don't think they will for their next project. And I'm excited to see what they do next, more than anything.
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah. Hey, do you want to talk about Scott Pilgrim Online at all, or do you think like that's like, you know, we played it a little bit during the stream, and I'm not sure that a lot of people are having such a great time about like playing online. Like the connection really isn't quite there that maybe it should be.
We definitely ran into some connection problems, and I know people have had a lot of connection problems with Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week on the show where at length about the game itself, so we won't kind of dive into that discussion, but we did talk about the idea of wanting to play the online mode, and we both played it for the first time this weekend, and it was not a very good time, at least on my end. For you, I think it was totally
not for
fine,
you.
right?
Yeah, I didn't even notice. It was perfect for me. The thing that was different for me though was not related to the connection or anything. Was I hadn't actually gotten to the last level. Like we joined in. I think I created the game. You joined it, and your progress carried over into my game. So we were actually able to go across the entire map. And because that kind of caught me by surprise, when I was like, I don't remember being able to go over here, but maybe I wasn't paying attention. But that is not the case. I've not completed all those bosses. So it seems like progress kind of merges together when you join each other's game. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, the problems I ran into were I had about 2 to 3 seconds of lag on
2 to 3 seconds
on every button press, whether it's moving, whether it was attacking, which is why I was just like, I could barely do anything, because in a game like that, you need very, very low latency. It's like a fight.
It's got to be immediate.
In a light way.
Oh my God, no kidding.
Yeah. So that unfortunately,
you did better than I did.
I know.
I feel like I was dying more than you.
Well, no, actually, I was dying faster, but I think also I was just a lower level too. So I mean, I just naturally had a smaller.
Oh, you were doing great.
But I was doing pretty good for 2 seconds of latency on every attack. Yeah, it was really rough. And I know again, Ubisoft has commented about it and said they're working on it. So I would expect a patch coming in the next couple of weeks for this game to kind of address this. But for right now, the online's kind of unplayable, which is kind of a bummer. Because this is definitely the type of game that you do want to play with other people. And unfortunately, we're kind of in the environment right now where we can't play with other people unless they're people in your household, essentially. But like me, I live by myself. I don't have anyone else to play with. So it's just like...
And it's so good. That's all I want to do right now, Ryan. Like, I know I'm doing the whole Star Wars thing. I just want to play Scott Pilgrim. Like, I really am enjoying it, man. It's just it's a great arcade beat-em-up game, and I don't typically love those immediately out of the gates. And I think honestly, I've fallen in love with the music. Is all I keep thinking about.
Oh, that soundtrack is so good. I have it on CD.
I've downloaded it.
It's so good. Yeah. And Omega, the band that does the soundtrack, they did like this whole concert. When the game came out on Ubisoft's
awesome.
YouTube channel. You can actually go watch that if you missed out on that. And they're fantastic. The music in that game is so good. So I'm glad that you're enjoying it as well, because when we talked about this last week, I can't remember. I think you had just beaten the first boss, but you had barely played it at that point. So I'm so happy to hear that you kind of fall in love with it at this point.
Yeah. I'm fighting robots and stuff. I thought it was just our boyfriends, but I'm climbing up to the rooftop, and there's all these different crazy stuff.
Well, again, a lot of that too is stuff you see in the comic. The Scott Pilgrim comic that you just don't see in the movie.
Of course.
Especially like the section with the twins, it basically is like a 5-minute section in the movie, but they have a whole comic devoted to the twins, and they build robots and stuff like that. So it's so different to see the take on that. But especially if you've only seen the movie, playing the game, you're like, what are all these references for? And again, if you read the Scott Pilgrim comic, it'll all make sense. But Sean, let's slam the brakes on this conversation. It's time for some breaking news, and we got some interesting news stories this week. We're finally starting to get some gaming news in our lives again, because it's been a while since we've talked about any gaming news. It's been a while. So this first one we're gonna start with is an announcement of an announcement, but it'll be something we'll probably talk about more on the show next week. But I wanted to throw this out there in case anyone missed that this announcement's coming, as this is gonna be happening this afternoon from the time you're listening to this on Thursday. Capcom have announced a Resident Evil showcase showing off more footage from Resident Evil Village, as well as new announcements for the 25th anniversary of the series. It will happen today at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Capcom's channel. And the other reason I wanted to talk about this, Sean, because I did have something to say about this, they've been teasing all week the other announcements that we might be seeing from this, because again, this year is Resident Evil's 25th anniversary, and we've seen a whole bunch of re-releases of games of the Resident Evil titles on current gen, but what they haven't done at all is re-release the PlayStation 1 versions of these games, which are actually different than all of the re-releases they've been doing. So what I'm thinking this is kind of alluding to, based on what's going on with their Twitter things, is it sounds to me like they're doing a Resident Evil collection, kind of like the Mega Man Legacy Collection, that is going to have like the classic, like classic Resident Evil 1 through 3, maybe Code Veronica in there for good measure, and then have them available to you right there and there, especially because we don't have like Resident Evil 3 in a playable fashion on anything besides the PSP or the Vita or PlayStation 1.
Right.
And it's such a different game from the remake. So.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think they're definitely going to do that now that you say that.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
would
the
be
tweets all
amazing.
week they've been leading up to the event, and they've been teasing the announcements, and all the teases have been classic gifs of Resident Evil games from the first 3 games through their menu systems, but with like slight tweaks to the menus, which kind of indicates to me like red flag, like something's up with this. Like it seems to me that there's something happening, but obviously we'll know this afternoon from the time you guys are listening to this. So 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm super excited to see obviously more Village, but also what they're going to do for the 25th anniversary of Resident Evil, which is just crazy to think about that series is 25 years old this year, Sean. I can't believe it.
Well, they did the remake, right, for 2, and they did the remake for 3. Like, and I think there's rumors for a remake of that type for 4. But what about the original? Like, if this is the big anniversary for that game, like, do you expect them to go back to that in any other way than just, like, revive the old classic?
I really wish that instead of doing the remake of 4, I wish they were doing a remake of 1. Or even 0. Like, Resident Evil 0, I think, needs a remake, too. Or even something like Code Veronica, I think, could really use a remake as well. Because all 3 of those games are great, but tank controls and the generic, like, image backgrounds don't really hold up too well today.
Yeah, tank controls especially. Like, you need to move, man. You can't be like, wait, I got to turn and then I got to forward. Yeah.
They're fantastic games, but the gameplay just doesn't hold up for those games, and they're really hard to go back to. And as much as I'm excited for like a legacy collection of those, presuming that that's what it is, honestly, rather than a Resident Evil 4 remake, that would excite me the most. It's like a Resident Evil 1 remake or a Code Veronica remake or even a Resident Evil 0 remake. I think would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Even just the moments that they could recreate, right? Like, I feel like, you know, more people even remember like the dog, like just the zombie dog at the start of the first game is just like, I would love to see them revisit that moment. Just absolutely bone chilling, dude. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they already did do a remake of the original Resident Evil, but that still has the tank controls. So, I mean...
like not in this style, not in the new style that they've done. So maybe they missed a chance, but it seems kind of incomplete that they've just got 2 and 3 that way.
Yeah, exactly. Or it just showed how much potential there is for them to do this with other games in the franchise. I think that's more than what 2 and 3 really showed us. So I would love to see more, but again... We'll see this afternoon. I'm really excited for this showcase, though, and again, the fact that it's not just a Resident Evil 8 event shows me that they've got many things to announce. So it's going to be probably multiple things they're going to talk about here. So, as a huge Resident Evil fan, I'm really excited to see what they have to talk about here.
Are you hyped on 8? Is it just because it's another Resident Evil game, or like where are you with 8?
Well, I really liked Resident Evil 7, so I'm actually really excited for Resident Evil 8 as well. I'm less excited about it because I personally prefer the third person Resident Evil games more than the first person ones. But obviously we've only had the one to base it off of. So you never know. I might actually enjoy another trip back to that well. And I also like that they're going back to first person because then it kind of breaks it makes it feel like they're not just doing all third person games. It kind of breaks up the pace of those, I guess. And it feels less samey, if that makes any sense. Although again, when you play Resident Evil 7, it plays like the traditional third person Resident Evil game, just the camera's first person. Otherwise, everything else is exactly the same. So, but yeah, I'm actually really excited for for 8 as well. I am less excited for it than I was for 3 or 2 remake, but I am still really excited to see more from that game. But obviously, I just wanted to have it in our hands now rather than seeing too much more from the game.
Definitely.
Well, next up, we got new info on Ninja Theory's new project, which is called Project Mara, which they announced a while ago, but obviously we just don't know too much about it. This is kind of a new IP for them. It is set in a single, incredibly realistic apartment that they actually built in real life, Sean. They built this real apartment.
Oh, did they build it? They built it just so that they could like take samples from it and model after it?
Yeah, exactly. Just to make it as realistic as possible. In fact,
that's insane.
But they posted pictures of this on Twitter, and that's kind of how they teased this announcement. And they were showing screenshots from the game, like the renderings from inside the game, right next to the shots of the apartment in the exact same spot. And it was like 1-to-1. It was so cool.
It's exactly the same. Like it's remarkable. Like this is a moment, I think, for Xbox to finally have that. I feel like that has only existed on PlayStation. We've honestly really got a lot of like photorealistic types of experiences on PlayStation like over the years, and it's funny what we've called photorealistic in the past, and then you go by 10 years and look back and go like that wasn't even close. But like those graphical powerhouses, that realistic depictions in games, that has always been on PlayStation. So I'm really excited by what this is. Again, I didn't realize that they had built specifically this apartment so they could do this with it. They had a 4-minute video that talked about what this is all about and the way that they're tackling like different surfaces and fabrics, and how I think like even the carpet in typical games would just be a flat surface, but there's 3D geometry that happens as you get closer and closer to an actual surface. There's dips and there's bumps and everything in every fabric and surface. So it's a really interesting take that they've done on this. And then they had I think a 45-second teaser or something of Project Mara, and it's just like, give this to me immediately, man. This is so exciting that they're pushing the boundaries. And they even talked about like the ways that they captured the samples. They had like the actual fabric from the apartment, and they had to because they're all working through COVID right now, they had to develop new ways on taking photographs of these samples and then building that into the game and having procedurally generated, I guess, algorithms create the actual surfaces in the game. It's totally fascinating, goes way over my head, but I'm all for it. And an experience, it's such a unique looking experience that I'm really excited to see what Ninja Theory is all about. This guy was braking right in front of me in 2 lanes, so he kind of broke my concentration a little bit as I try not to die, Ryan.
It's all good. Please don't die, Sean. I'm excited to see more of this. Again, I love Ninja Theory. I'm excited to see what their new project's all about. And it's exciting that we're hearing a little bit more about it. Obviously, though, I'm anticipating that this is farther away than something like Hellblade 2, which is already a really far ways away.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to know that they're working on kind of the next thing at this point, because a lot of times Ninja Theory kind of works on 2 things at the same time. But this is probably like a 2023, 2024 game at this point. But probably. I'm excited to see some details about it. Well, next up, we got, speaking of games that are super far away, Tomonobu Itagaki, who famously is the creator of the Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden series, but over at Tecmo Koei. He had actually left the studio, I think back in 2012 or 2013, right before Ninja Gaiden 3 was coming out, to kind of form his own studio called Valhalla Games. And they worked on the terrible Wii U game Devil's Third. But Itagaki has since left Valhalla Games, has now created his own new studio called Itagaki Games, and has formally expressed interest in actually partnering with Microsoft again. They had this whole interview with Itagaki, and for folks that don't know, he had a really good relationship with Microsoft because when Dead or Alive 3 came out, that was part of the reason why that game was an Xbox exclusive, where before that it was a PlayStation and arcade exclusive beforehand. And one of the reasons why Ninja Gaiden was an Xbox exclusive as well as Ninja Gaiden 2. And basically up until he left the studio, that's when those games started all going cross-platform. Was after Itagaki left Team Ninja. So it's cool to see Itagaki kind of try and land on his feet a little bit with his own studio and kind of do the Kojima thing of kind of starting his own studio with a smaller team and kind of getting back to basics with some of his games. And it sounds like he's working on a new third-person action game. We don't know exactly what yet, but those are all the words I need to hear to get excited about this type of announcement, because I love Ninja Gaiden. I also really like the Dead or Alive series as well. But obviously, if he's not working on a fighting series, it's going to be something probably more akin to Ninja Gaiden, which for me gets me super excited. And if he works with Microsoft on it, it could be an exclusive. It could be a Game Pass game. It could be a timed exclusive. Who knows? But this
could be anything.
It could be anything. But this announcement gets me pretty excited as a Ninja Gaiden.
It could be the Devil's Fourth, Ryan.
Please no. Please never again. We hopefully never have to speak of Devil's Third on this podcast ever again, Sean. Next up, Fall Guys, Sean. It was prematurely teased that maybe it was come to Xbox Game Pass today. No, it's not happening. For some reason today, someone was the Xbox Game Pass Twitter account was basically I think they were tweeting, hey, what games should come to Game Pass? And then someone tweeted them saying, hey, when's Fall Guys coming to Game Pass? And they replied back to the user saying, oh, it's coming. And then Devolver quickly stepped in and said, no, this is actually incorrect. So,
well, not quickly. Like, I mean, maybe in the grand scheme of things, it was quickly. And I think it was the Instagram account maybe that said that, yeah, it's coming. But it was long enough for that rumor or that misunderstanding to gain some speed and some traction. A lot of people reported that it was coming. And it just, I don't know about you, but like, that game seems like it should be on Game Pass, right? Like, it seems like such a good fit, and then of course the account says it, so I bought it, man. Like, I thought that was real, and I would like to. I just want to play that on Xbox. I have it on PlayStation, but dude, and I played it for 4 hours straight on my 24-hour stream. That game is great. Just bring it to Game Pass, man. Phil Spencer, make it happen, dude.
Well, even if it doesn't come to Xbox, it's not even on PC Game Pass, and it's on PC. So I mean, that would be a good first step, I think. But they're not even. But they're not even doing that. So
it's heartbreaking, man.
Which I'm actually kind of surprised about too. I'm actually kind of surprised that they haven't made kind of a pitch to get it on PC Game Pass. But maybe it's selling too well. Maybe the developer won't. Maybe Devolver doesn't want to take the amount of money it would take to lose. Like, maybe it's not worth it for them. I don't know.
It's got to have a year. It's got to have a year exclusivity, though, right?
That's possible. I mean, I think
that's probably more of it. Yeah. Oh, maybe it's coming like next year, but yeah, they wouldn't announce it that soon.
Also, I should retract my point too, because Among Us is coming to PC Game Pass, and I mean, that's a game that's just also selling like hotcakes too, which we also played this weekend.
Oh, dude, I'd rather play Fall Guys. I know that's like heresy to say to most people, but Fall Guys is so great, and a lot of people have forgotten about it. It is so fun, and I love it on my Xbox.
You say that it's only because I killed you first this weekend, Sean. That's all.
I know. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Game Pass segue, our last news story has to do with Game Pass. We got new Game Pass games coming starting this week. So on the 21st, that is today, the day you're listening to this, we've got Desperados 3 on console and PC.
What even is that?
That is a Wild West turn-based strategy game. Kind of like XCOM, but with cowboys.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
My brother Kyle, he's actually a pretty big fan of that game. So he tells me about that game all the time. We also got Donny County coming to console and PC on January 21st. Outer Wilds coming to Android devices. Of course, it was already on Game Pass for PC and console, but now you can play it on your phone.
Gotcha.
And then next week, we got Cyber Shadow Day and Date on January 26th, which excites me. I'm super hyped for Cyber Shadow.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah, that game looks fantastic. And then The Medium, another game, probably one of my most anticipated games of the year, coming on January 28th. And then finally, the Yakuza Remastered Collection comes to Xbox on January 28th. That contains Yakuza Remastered 3, 4, and 5, all on Android console and PC. And also The Medium, fun fact as well, it's going to be the very first exclusive Series X game, Sean. It's finally happening.
Exclusive.
It's not just exclusive to the Xbox brand.
Exclusive.
But it's going to be the very first console generation exclusive for Xbox. So if that's not exciting enough for you, I don't know what else could get you more excited from The Medium. I'm super stoked to play that game, Sean, next week. So, yeah.
Nice. I think you could have a better name. I don't know if I'm hyped about the name, but otherwise it looks like a cool game.
Yeah. I mean, I'm ready to get spooked in January, Sean. It's happening. Well, let's let some of our friends in the car with us, Sean. It's time for the carpool. We got a couple quick questions from the audience this week. We're going to start with Todd Oxtra at Toxtra, and he asks, "Hello, my Mounties of the mic. Let's play What If." What if Xbox...
Wait, what? I was laughing at the Mounties of the mic. What is he asking?
He is asking, let's play What If. What if Xbox never launched Xbox Game Pass? Where do you think Microsoft would be today? That's an interesting question, Todd, because honestly, I don't know if Microsoft would be in the position they are now if Game Pass wasn't around. Honestly,
they wouldn't be in games. I think you could go as far to say they wouldn't even be in games, or they would be like sunsetting.
I would say they'd probably be like third party at that point. They probably wouldn't be in consoles, probably, I'm guessing.
Well, so the reason I'm so bold to say that is because, the fabled conversation between Satya Nadella and Phil Spencer went like something like, why is Microsoft in games? And I have to believe that if Game Pass wasn't part of that conversation, then Nadella goes, well, then we're not in games. Right? Like, I have a feeling that that conversation was the catalyst for the new Xbox that we see now, which you don't have the future of Xbox without Game Pass. And I don't think you have any future Xbox if that change in direction wasn't part of that conversation where they were really evaluating should they be in games in the future.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I honestly, I think because Microsoft has been in games since the early 90s, like I would anticipate, like even if without Game Pass, if they were to ever go in that direction, I would imagine they would still probably publish games. Like they would still because they probably still make enough money off games themselves to actually make a pretty good profit. Especially if they did release them everywhere, if that was the direction they went in without Game Pass.
It might be a storefront. They might be like an Epic's Game Store or Steam or something like that. And I know that maybe 2 or 3 years ago, it would probably be insane to suggest that there could be a competitor for Steam. But I think Epic has shown that it's possible. You just have to have a game that takes over the entire planet and build a storefront around that. Yeah. But it is possible to challenge Steam on what they're doing. So maybe they could have taken another stab at a bit of a PC game storefront kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, they already kind of do with the Windows Game Store as well right now.
Sure. Yeah. It'd just be different.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you're right. Like without Game Pass, there probably would be no Xbox right now, or at least the Series X probably wouldn't be a thing. Like they probably wouldn't have created the Series X or the Series S. Like especially the Series S. Like that machine specifically pretty much built for Game Pass. So I mean, I think just so much of Microsoft's strategy now has to do with Game Pass. Like I can't even imagine a Microsoft in 2021 in games that like the way we would the way we know them now without Game Pass at this point.
Right.
So
yeah, it's critical. It's such a huge part of everything. It's core to what they do. So yeah, I mean, it's a great question because I think it just helps you to explore what is Xbox, and we all know that by now. It's like a huge part of that is Game Pass.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's move to Jason C's question at Carping About. He asks, what Xbox exclusive game do you wish was ready to play tomorrow? Sean, out of all the exclusives that we know are coming to Xbox, what is the one game you wish you could have in your hands right now?
So, okay, one time we were talking about our most anticipated games, and we did not mention Halo. I feel like I should probably say Halo I'm very excited about, but I'm also, I'm okay with them taking their time. With that said, Hellblade I am stoked about. And for all the same reasons I was just talking about with Project Mara, this dev team just seems like they're gonna bring the bangers, man. Like they're the ones that they're gonna bring out the games that people are jealous aren't on their system, right? And I think that's something that hasn't really happened a whole heck of a lot when it comes to first-party studio games coming to Xbox. It's like a lot of PlayStation gamers, I think, say all right, you go have fun with your Gears and you go have fun with your Forzas and whatever. I think Ninja Theory is going to bring games that will actually make people consider maybe I should get an Xbox because I kind of need to play that. I'm jealous it's not on my system. So that's my answer, man. How about you?
So for me, I mean, it's the game that I'm most anticipated to play from Microsoft first-party studios. Yes, obviously I want this team to take the time with this one, but I'm still going to say it because it's still the game that I wish was kind of ready to go right now and wish it was in development for 3 or 4 years. That game's Perfect Dark. I mean, that game, I'm so excited for it. I'm finally excited to see kind of the return of Joanna Dark as a character and kind of just seeing that franchise get the reboot that I think it kind of needs and deserves. And I'm really excited to see what the team at the Initiative does with that game and all the new ways that they try and tell the story and kind of all of the new things they're going to focus on with that game. Like I'm so excited to see what they do with that game. Like you have no idea how excited I'm for it. And unfortunately, it's just going to be years and years away. Like it's probably again a 2023 game I'm anticipating. But it'll
launch with the mid-gen upgrade, like the Series X2 or whatever it is.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, I am so ready for that game. Whenever it wants to be here, whenever it's great, I'm so ready for it. But yeah, that's the one where it's like, man, I just really want to play that game right now. Like I really want to see what it is. I want to get into it. And again, it's kind of hard to come up with an answer for this question too, because a lot of these games we kind of have to speculate on them because other than the brief concept trailers for a lot of them, we just don't know enough about them at this point.
Yeah, what are they going to be like? Well, and I don't know if we have time to record an extra mile on this, but I was just seeing on the Xbox, The Wire, their news blog, that they've got an article that has I think 21 games that are coming exclusively to Xbox in 2021. And I think it would be interesting to go through that. I was just kind of combing through. To be honest with you, I didn't recognize a lot of the games. So I'd like to find out more on those and really get a better sense of what is coming exclusively to Xbox in 2021. I
also thought it was very, very cool to see Tunic actually on that list, Sean.
Yes.
It might actually come out this year.
I know. And there's a game oh man, I wish I could remember it. It was right off the top of my head. It was right next to Tunic, and Oh, I don't think I realized that 12 minutes was exclusive to Xbox, and it turns out, or at least according to that article, that 12 minutes will be exclusive. So tons of good stuff coming.
Yeah, for sure. That was actually something we were going to do on the show this week, but I knew we weren't going to have enough time to kind of give it justice. Which is why
it's too much.
We didn't talk about it. But that's definitely something we can talk about off air. But that's a tale for another day. But before we go, Sean, please go.
You can find me on the internet at Sean Capri. On Twitter, it's Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. And if you like the show, you can support it at patreon.com/Yumi Capri. Oh, and I should also say, I never talk about this show. We the Gamercast is my one-on-one interview show. I talk with strangers and have sweet hangs with strangers from the internet. And coming up is Chris Johnston, listener, friend of the show from Player One Podcast. It was an honor to talk to him. So please check out We the Gamercast in the coming week here. Chris
Johnson also has been on this show before as well. So
he's friend of the show, big time.
Exactly. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. That's TURFORD. You can also find us on Twitter at The Xbox Drive, on YouTube at youtube.com/The Xbox Drive, and on podcast services around the globe. But for Sean Capri, I am Ryan Turford. This has been episode 174 of The Xbox Drive, and we out.
One of these days, I'm going to record an entire episode from inside of a place where I get my oil change. I was going to name the name of the place, but you guys will never know the name of the place where I get my oil change because it's all Canadian. It's probably like Fountain Tire or maybe like a Mr. Lube. Ball.